Hey guys, it's Lauren Ohayon, and today I want to talk to you or demonstrate for you a back pain sequence that I use all the time on clients and in my own body. So we're staying up in the mountains, we're not in our home right now, we're traveling a bit, and we've been hiking every day. And last night I was sitting talking to a friend for a really long time in kind of this tucked under position in my pelvis, this really tucked under position. And when I got up to stand, I was like, uh-oh. And when I woke up this morning, it was a lot of uh-oh. So this was the sequence I used this morning to really release the tension. The place that I felt the tension, and this sequence is great for that, is this whole kind of lower band in here. So around the sacroiliac, around the sacrum, and just kind of around my hips. And just like I knew that if I moved in the wrong way, it would be like a jolt of pain through my back. So I took a walk in the woods with the dog and still felt a lot of tension. I did this sequence and I feel so much better in my back. I want to share it with you. So the sequence works on creating some length and strength in the areas of the back that tend to get really compacted and protective. So our back tends to get protective. I just want to say that if you find yourself in a situation where your sacroiliac joint is bothering you or your lower back, what you want to avoid doing is a lot of this sitting where you're kind of sitting and leaning back in this tucked position. Ideally, you want to be sitting right up on these two sitting bones. So this morning, as I was having my coffee after the trail walk, I made sure I was sitting in a chair, really not leaning back against the chair, both feet planted on the floor, and sitting right up on those sitting bones, which will make your lower back come into a more of a arch, but that's actually a really natural curve for the lower back. So don't freak out about that, right? We don't want to try to flatten out this lower back curve. Okay, so let's begin. The first thing that we're going to do, I'll face this way, is a puppy. And I'm going to show you each one just for a minute and then tell you how many reps to do. So the first move is a puppy. And the idea here is to create a lot of traction in the lower back. In this situation, when the lower back is seized up, we want to try to prevent ourselves from tucking it under a lot. So we don't want to force it to untuck, but this move is going to bring the pelvis more into that positioning. And so I'm coming into this hands and knees position. My hands are coming to the front of my mat. I'm gluing them down with super glue. And then I'm untucking my pelvis gently. I'm not allowing my ribs to collapse to the floor like this. I'm not doing that. And rather, I'm pulling back towards my heels without tucking under here. So I'm just kind of maintaining this neutral in my spine as I pull back this way. Okay, so this feels really great on my spine, but I can tell if I overdo this position of untucking, my back starts to seize up. It's not feeling safe there. So while I don't want to tuck it, I don't want to force it into an unsafe place. So I held this morning for a good 30, 40 seconds. You can move in and out of it, just coming forward and backward, shifting slowly in and out of it, creating that spinal traction. And then we come to lie on our back. This sequence that I'm about to show you is this next move really, well, all of the moves, but this one is kind of a gold pot for me. You're lying on your back, your feet are on the floor, and I would say for a lot of us, a pillow under our head is a great idea, especially if we're prone to a huge back arch under the rib cage. Okay, so I'm gonna push my feet forward. And as I push my feet forward, they don't move. But what happens is I don't move my feet and my pelvis will gently tuck. Great. Now, once my pelvis is gently tucked, I start to roll over to the outside of my feet. So I open my knees, roll over to the outer edges of my feet. And when I'm on the outer edges of my feet and I'm in this tucked position, I start to pull my feet towards my booty, and that will gently untuck me. Again, I'm not looking to go excessive in either range of motion, although this feels really good. So I'm just going to let my body be pulled into that shape. And then what I do is, again, I start to roll onto my feet. I start to push, and that goes into my hamstrings, into my glutes, and I do a little bit of a tuck. I start to roll to the outer edge using resistance. So I'm not flopping. I'm not just collapsing. I'm kind of using resistance here. So strength, I'm using strength in my glutes and hips. And then as I pull my feet towards my booty, I'm resisting it. So that as my pelvis starts to change shape, it's doing that under resistance and strength and not just passiveness. And that's the move. Then you can reverse it. So reversing it is the exact opposite, right? So exactly what we just did, but the opposite. So you pull the feet, in the first one we pushed the feet away and did it, right? And then we reverse it, pull the feet in, that will untuck the pelvis. Open wide, push the feet away from you, that will tuck your pelvis. Put the feet back on the floor. Again, pull the feet in, that will untuck your pelvis. Open wide to the outer edges of your feet, push your feet away from you, that will tuck your pelvis, start to pull your legs in. In both scenarios, you're moving under resistance. I like to do that about 8 to 10 times total, both directions. So I go one way and then the other way. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my left knee open and allow my pelvis to rock to the left. From here, I'm going to push my right foot, so I'm not going to let my right knee collapse like this. I'm going to push my right foot into the floor. My pelvis is going to rise up. My right glute is really going to fire up, and I'm just going to hold that. And then lower it down and reset it. Again, trying not to be all collapsed in your leg. So slowly open this leg. Let this knee stay where she is. Let your pelvis twist. Push your right foot down. Feel your glutes engage. Push and lower it down. And I do both sides, and I do that about 8 times both sides. Okay, this next move, you just want to be careful with your core. So this next move, sometimes I feel like I just need to go side to side a little bit. My back, I've been on my back for a while. It might be kind of tender. So if you need to get off your back and do a puppy traction again, you can do that too. Then I'm going to come here and I'm going to create lower back traction by taking one knee up, one hand on my leg, and I do a push-pull. So I pull my thigh in and I push away. And it's not about overpowering and being aggressive, right? So again, I'm not pushing as hard as I can, but what I am making sure is that my core doesn't bulge up as I do that. So as I do this, I just want to make sure that my sacrum, that area right above your butt crack, stays planted to the floor. Do not push your lumbar spine into the floor like this. That's not what you want. And then you do both legs. And I alternate and I hold for about 3 seconds or however long it feels good. And I alternate. Okay, so those are all of the moves that I do on my back. And then we come up to our hands and knees. Sometimes what I'll do, and it just depends, is so you have to do this near a wall. I'll put both of my feet up on a wall. So I don't have a wall, you're imagining. My feet are up on the wall. I'm resting them there. I make 2 fists and I squeeze my fists with my knees. Squeeze, 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 and release. And I do that about 5 times, and that really releases around my sacrum. When I'm done with that, I put my feet on the floor and again, just do a few windshield wipers, roll over to the side, and I'll show you the last move. Okay, so this last move is awesome. They're all awesome. I come onto my knees and you can get padding under your knee. I step my right foot forward. I want to make sure in this position that I am in a very tucked position. So I tuck my pelvis under. Don't worry, it doesn't really tuck you. It just brings you more to neutral. You might feel a nice stretch through here as you do that. I then scooch my right foot more forward. I maintain this tucked position as I reach my hips forward. Try not to twist the hips open to the left or you'll be avoiding kind of what we're trying to get at here. So we're trying to stretch out the hip flexors a little bit. And then we're going to just reach that left arm straight up and then take the right hand, and it's really gentle here, and just kind of rotate with the right hand and the chest to touch this left thigh, and then pull the right foot towards the left knee and vice versa. So create a pull in through the legs towards each other. Whoa, I'm falling. Let me show that to you on the other side. So it's not about how deep you go in the twist. The twist is tiny counteracting twist. So left foot forward, right foot down, find that tuck. If your hip is really hiked up here on the left, it's also going to change the sensation. So see if you can just drop that hip a little bit. Tuck, come forward, pull your legs towards each other, reach your right arm up, reach up, minor twist to the left, minor. So it's not a big, huge yoga show-off twist. Good. And then that's it. Now, if that part, the rotation feels weird, right? Just stick with shifting your legs forward and pulling your legs towards each other. That might feel just a lot better depending on what's happening with you. That's it. Those are my back saver exercises. This morning I was like crippled. As you can see, I'm kind of moving around with a lot more ease. So try these and report back on how they feel.